What's good, people? It's about that time to randomly relate reverse rants, no hate. So, I'm pretty sure by now everybody knows that the fight is canceled between Chris Eubanks Jr. and Conor Benn, as it should be. I wanted to wait, see exactly what happened, what type of information came up. Sometimes things happen beyond, what you can come up with, for as a solution or the reason why something happened. And then you might hear, get clarity on it, and oh, okay, now I see what happened. Or so it was like one of these situations where I made 3 videos about it, and a 4th video where I talked about it some too, because you had a lot of people talking about just talking nonsense. Don't have any regard for human life. This would not say anything good about boxing if they was to let this fight go on. Whether Conor Benn took something on purpose or not, okay, regardless to his intent. Now, if he did it purposely, y'all know what should happen. If this was one of these things where, and how do you prove that he did it on purpose, right? Unless something happened, somebody videotaped them or talking or doing it, or, you understand? Like, how do you prove that? Unless he says one thing and then says something else and then have a trail of lies or something like that. I don't know what he did or didn't do. But the reality is, regardless to the intent, the fact that something's in his system, that fight should be called off. Oscar Valdez fight should have never happened. And so forth and so on. If you pop dirty, even though your opponent is saying they want to fight, of course. Chris Eubanks Jr. was getting like $3 million or something like that, right? They're making big paydays. So, yeah, they want the fight to go on. But the people on the undercard, okay, are the ones really suffering, because they wasn't going to make as much money as those two. And pretty much because of one man popping dirty, the whole event is canceled. So, do they reschedule the event itself, the same undercard? Do they have Conor versus Chris Eubanks Jr. at a different time and it's a different card? Who knows? But this fight should not have went on. I'm not concerning myself with these people that talking, these morons out there that just talk and say a bunch of crazy stuff. They don't know what they're talking about, just talking. If this fight was to go on, it would just show you more and more that damn near nobody in boxing really cares about the health of anybody as long as money's involved. Even if you have some people, just imagine if they know ahead of time this person's going to die in this fight. This is a $1 billion fight. So, hey, we'll get over him. We'll mourn his death and cry and say some good words, but through time everybody forget about him. There'll be new stars, he'll be replaced. That's the feel, okay, that people can have legitimately for this fight to go on. As I said, no fight. There's no way that someone should test, pop dirty in a fight and still be allowed to fight. Even if you as a fighter don't care. I'll smash this guy. I'll beat him even though he's dirty. It's just like a referee, okay? The referee's job is not to concern himself with the crowd booing him. The referee's job is not concerning himself with the corner being upset with him because he stopped a fight and the guy's taking a beating, a vicious beating. There's times where the referee had to do what the cornermen won't do. They won't throw the towel in, and your fighter's in there getting beat from pillar to post. And you keep telling them round after round, just do this, just do that. You see that the guy just doesn't have it in him, and the referee says, nah, enough is enough. You've seen fighters do that, where they're looking at the ref like, man, stop this fight. Stop the fight. Come on, stop the fight, man. The guy, he's getting beat bad. But it's your job to keep going, right? Your job is not to try to be the referee. But the whole point is, it's something that decent people can respect and understand. Like, if the referee stand there and go, if I stop this fight, man, they're going to boo. They're going to get mad. They'll probably throw things at the ring. Man, listen, if that fighter dies, we can sit here and talk about Meldrick Taylor. We could talk about Ali. We could talk about all these other fighters that ended up with Parkinson's and, Riddick Bowe. We can talk about all of that. But when these guys were in the ring, how many people were saying, hey, stop that fight, stop this fight? This fight shouldn't even go on. No, like I said, more blood, more blood. That was a brutal fight. Those guys went at it. And like we always say, fights take years off your life, man. They damage you. But again, it's one thing when it's a back and forth fight, and that's what you get paid for. That's the business that you signed up for. We call it the hurt business, right? Well, it is what it is. But if a guy, let's just say, for example, right? Well, before I even say that, like I was saying, if a guy's in there getting brutalized, at some point common sense kicks in. Stop this fight. Now, what happens if the guy that was doing all the ass kicking pops dirty? Then it's, that's why he was beating him so bad, right? Think about this, right? If Conor Benn went in there and knocked Chris Eubanks Jr. out, right? He's never been knocked out in a pro fight. I don't know what happened outside of boxing, but he's never been knocked out in the pro ring. Imagine if the fight would have happened, he'd have knocked Chris Eubanks Jr. out, and then all of a sudden the news comes out that he popped dirty. Along with that, people was aware 2 weeks before the fight even happened. Do you know how much of a stain that would have put on boxing? Now, on the other hand, let's say he would have went in there and got his ass kicked by Chris Eubanks Jr., right? What if Chris Eubanks went in and he put it on Conor Benn, and the news came out? Do you know what that would have did? The type of stain would have put on boxing? And people may say, yeah, but not the same thing because he lost. Yeah, but the point is they knew 2 weeks ahead of time. And then that just really, really sinks Conor Benn, because it's like, man, you cheated and you still lost. That's exactly what people would say. And the reality is, if you don't put your foot down and say no, there's no way the British board should let this go on. That means anything can happen in boxing. And just because, like I said, the Oscar Valdez, let me tell you something. Mauricio Suleiman caught a lot of heat behind that. And, of course, he tried to, defend himself and defend his friends and his countrymen and all that and try to make excuses. But that fight should have never happened. And for someone to say, well, how are they going to stop this one? They let Oscar Valdez go on. Okay, well, they got to stop somewhere. That's just like saying, why should slaves be, why should we not still enslave people? They did it back in the day. You understand? So because that happened, it should have never happened then. And that's just the whole point. If nobody put their foot down and say, no, this is not happening. Simple. The fighters don't have the last say so. That's one thing they cannot control. They can say, hey, they still want to fight. Yeah, they want that money. Of course they want that money. But no. And then for Conor, whether he's really innocent or not, if he is innocent, he's still overlooking the reality. Yeah, Conor, you're saying that you're not dirty and that you didn't take anything. Whatever's in your system, you don't know how it got there, which is what you always hear, other than bad meat or whatever. But at the end of the day, or some herbal tea they drink. But at the end of the day, you have to have common sense to know, okay, something is in my system that can allow me to have energy boosts, to have more stamina, or those type of things where you'll end up having an advantage. For you to not understand that, it's like, even if you said, if it was shoe on the other foot, I still want to fight, it doesn't change the reality. You can't be stupid and smart at the same time, okay? If you go in there, and let's just not forget something, it was his dad, okay? And that against McClellan was a head clash. You see how his dad was in tears when they saw each other for the first time years later, and McClellan was sitting in that wheelchair, and his father couldn't hold those tears back. Well, with the hatred, the dislike that Conor and Chris have for each other, I guess it would be hard for him to feel that compassion, but it's common sense. So even for them to talk to each other and say, yeah, I still want to fight or whatever. Look, all it takes is one fight, your life can be lost. We always talk about how people lose their lives in the ring. Well, if you have something in your system and you go in there and you win a fight, are you that desperate? Are you that thirsty to get a win to the point where you don't care if you have an advantage, an illegal advantage, or not? Just the simple fact that you just want to fight. It's like he's more offended, and he shouldn't be focusing on social media, but he's probably hearing or assuming like things that people are saying about him or thinking about him. He should be more focused. He should be more focused on what he has to do, the task at hand. But once you get to the point where you just want what you want, but you're not thinking about the safety of the opponent, like, I don't need any advantage to beat him, but I got something in my system that can give me an advantage. I get it. I understand. I don't think it's even wise for Conor to even speak. Let some time go by. Let whatever has to happen, and then you can give a better assessment. Because right now you're saying you don't know what's in your system or how it got there. And you probably feel like just you saying that alone, people should say, oh, okay, well, he's innocent. He said he didn't do it. It's not going to work like that. So once you start defending yourself and get to the point where, because the fight's off now, so you're trying to defend yourself, and when you talk off emotion, you probably will wind up saying the wrong things. You'll end up looking more guilty and also looking heartless, because at the end of the day, you just want to fight. There's no reason for the fight to not go on. No, what's in your system is every reason for the fight to not go on. You want to see someone win clean. And then not only that, not just your credibility, but the credibility of the people in the sport, like I said, who would be showing, we don't care about your lives, man. As long as you can make us some money, that's all we care about. So I don't see where it's hard for people to see why this fight should have been stopped. Fighters, let's just say it like this, Conor won't be the last person to pop dirty. Fighters have to be more on the ball with what they're putting in their bodies. It's a strict regimen, lifestyle, all that stuff. You have to have the discipline. It's not just the physical, what you do in the ring. You have to have all of it. But again, like I said, it's what is in his system is why, it's like, how do you not know that's in your system? How? Okay, I can sit here and think about everything I ate today. And I know I know what I ate. If you've ever been to the doctor, for example, right? One of my partners was telling me every time he go to the doctor keep saying that he was having a lot of he was eating a lot of his cholesterol, and he was asking him what does he do? Do he normally eat? And he's telling the doctor the healthy stuff. He's not telling him everything. Well, along with that, he was taking a lot of creatine. It's protein shakes that he was taking with creatine in it, but he wasn't drinking enough water. to flush the creatine down. Not that he's trying to hide it, but that's what you do, because that's why people was getting cramps, because they take the creatine. If you see these fools in the gym now, they go in there, they just take it straight, dry. Like all of this nonsense that they do. And once he finally told the doctor that he eat a lot of scrambled eggs, he eats a lot of popcorn with butter, okay, and he's taking creatine, then it made more sense to the doctor, because he was getting annoyed because he keep going back and forth for the same thing and the levels keep staying up. So this is what I'm saying. He could have made that easier on himself by tapping in, because he's physically fit, so he want to talk about the healthy stuff he eats. Now it's not coming from that, though. Well, it's not that he didn't know, he just was holding out on information. Once he came clean about what he was eating, that's what made the doctor okay, that makes sense. Now I see where this is coming from, and what, So my point in that is, unless you sleepwalk and eat, you know what you're putting in your body. Did you have an energy drink today? Did you, did you eat pancakes and syrup? Did you have butter on those pancakes? Did you have, did you eat something with a lot of sugar? Have you been eating a lot of sugar? Have you, this is the things that people, and listen, the average person day to day don't really pay attention. They know what they're eating, but they don't watch how many calories they put in their body, how much sugar they're taking in and stuff like that, salt. They don't. You are a fighter. And even if you don't have a nutritionist or a strength and conditioning coach and all that, there's certain things to stay away from. So for Connor, he's just in a position right now, like I said, he need to let some time go by, wait until whatever testing he has to do or whatever, because like they said, he passed every other test that they took and this, that, and they're like, well, because usually the B sample come back the same. Sometime it comes back, on where you're clean, but just saying, he doesn't need to start getting into it with people online trying to defend himself to where he's, because what I can see Connor doing is getting, because he talks with a chip on his shoulder. He always has an attitude when he's talking, and I can imagine him now sitting there trying to explain, I'm a clean fighter, I don't need no advantages, I've been a clean fighter my whole career, and this is no different, and I don't know what they found, maybe they're making a mistake. And for him to say that, questions will be asked about that, questions will be asked about the fight itself, and see, I can see him right now just saying all of the wrong things. And then it's just because whoever, even the interviewer, depending on who the interviewer is, I don't think people really think that Connor is innocent. For the most part. I think most people feel like, nah, he took something. And then you got to always understand, too, everybody's an individual. But when you keep having fighters pop dirty, and it's always, like I said before, with the whole, I ate some boar meat, some bad meat, I ate some, I had some herbal tea, I don't know how it got there. I don't know. It just, I don't know what happened. And especially if you've been doing the same things. It's like, how? All of a sudden now, something's in your system, but you haven't been taking anything? And the fact of the matter is, this was known for 2 weeks, which means he knew about it. And it didn't come up. But at the same time, it's like the way that he talks and how he gets so irritated and always on the defensive in interviews. I think he should just shut up, stay silent, wait till everything unfolds, then say your piece. But he should be careful with his words. We watch Oscar Valdez do the same thing. I'm a clean fighter. My whole career, I voluntarily volunteered for random drug testing, and I've never been found dirty. This just one time, I don't know what happened, but I'm not a dirty fighter. And And I mean, his fans, of course, they supported that. But bottom line, you had something in your system. Several fighters have popped dirty for stuff. We're not there to know and see. But you gotta admit, that whole I don't know how it got there is just getting really old now. It really is. Bottom line, the right decision was made. Despite, like I said, the few morons that think that the fight should have went on. Whatever. The right decision was made. Safety, a person's health, life after boxing, all that kind of stuff that people don't think about because they're so used to watching movies that they think that life is like one big movie. They don't realize what can actually happen. Like little kids, right, playing around out in the street, not realizing you don't know when some drunk driver may come flying through there, or somebody getting chased by the cops may come flying through there, and they're just out there, just out and about, not a care in the world. And that's why you tell your kids, don't play in the street. Play in the yard, stay on the sidewalk. Do not play in the middle of the street. You got people live on a one-way street or dead end, and you just never know what freak accident might happen. So it's one of these things. If he got away with it some kind of way, and then they found something in his system after the fight, okay, that would be one thing. But they knew about this 2 weeks prior. And then, I guess, little by little, things will start to come out about this story. If not, it's not about this soap opera-ish, he said, she said, juicy gossip stuff. For Conor's sake, he had really better been unaware. Because if he willingly took something to cheat, just saying, we see what happened to Pharmacy Miller, right? You cannot be a professional fighter, okay? Anytime you have the term professional linked to your name in anything, it doesn't mean perfect. It just means there's certain things you cannot do, certain things you should excel at. Otherwise, it's like that's part of your job, man. You cannot sit back and say, I don't know how I got there, and then every fighter, I don't know how I got there. I don't know how I got there. I mean, whatever he did didn't have anything to do with the last fighter. Everybody's an individual, but it gets old, man, and you just get to the point where you really start thinking, like, what if? I mean, I forget the fighter's name that he fought, that, like he said, I fought Errol Spence and all these different guys that can punch, but when he hit me, it's like, now I was out, like, and I started to think, like, what if? Now, don't know if he was dirty then or not. Don't know. But that's the type of stuff that develops from these type of situations. So you cannot, like, everybody that says they don't know, or they'll, I had some bad meat. When are you going to learn from other people's mistakes? You keep going to the well, to the, keep going back and forth, You keep digging in that well, and then all of a sudden that motherfucker dry. You ain't got no more water because you just keep going back to that same excuse pool. Everybody, let's say, you say it's this or you say it's that. I mean, we've seen videos of people with shooting steroids in their butt cheeks, all types of stuff to try to, hide stuff or whatever it may be, and you just never know what a person's intentions are. So when I first heard it, I'm thinking, I'm listening to Eddie, and even though Eddie was saying that, either okay, then if he's not suspended, then let him fight. Either suspend him or let him fight. Simple. My whole thing was that now, so let me say, I understood what Eddie was saying, but I didn't agree with what Eddie was saying. because he's not suspended, but you're calling the fight off, it doesn't erase the fact something is in his system. And that's why the fight shouldn't happen. You understand? So, like I said, there'll be more to this story. I don't really want to keep getting into this story, but it'll be more to this story that will come up. How much of it will actually add clarity, and why it should have clarity is because, in all honesty, people want to know if Conor is guilty. And when I say guilty, meaning he did something on purpose, versus him saying something got in his system and he don't know how it got there. Anyway, talk to me in the comments section. Y'all think Conor just is a victim of circumstances? Something happened somehow and he just don't know? Pinocchio? Or y'all think that he know what he did? Talk to me in the comment section. Never fall in love with lies. Remember, the truth brings hate out of people, and I will catch y'all on the next video.